Hello everyone, welcome to Digital Beer Stream. What's in the glass? Happy Thursday everyone. 2 months and 1 day closing my flat now. We're all trying to fight the boredom. We try to fight the, the epidemic situation where we are now. And don't worry, we keep doing stuff, and today we are jumping straight into the industry stream. So I'm having 4 different formats, and the format for today is the industry stream. So industry stream is our 30 minutes Thursday two-way line conversation with a beer industry hero. And today we're gonna have a real hero, Cormac, good friend of mine. And I'll give you a bit of idea about what's happening today as well. We're having a shop for the week, which is all good beer in Bermondsey and in Hackney Downs. And I managed to buy some stouts because this is also stout week. So the very full body black beer with Varos flavors, some hops. Today I'm having quite specially this bomb in here, which is the Beer Geek Geordie. It's a collaboration between Wylam and Michela, and it's a 7.5% coffee oatmeal stout. And I'm pretty sure this is going to be like boom, 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 because it's a 7.5% beer. It's got coffee, so it's going to keep me, active and on my feet for this live. And I would love to give a big shout to Time Well Spent. I did it today, but it's a really important matter. So Time Well Spent, it connects furloughed creatives with charities, social enterprises, and startups impacted from COVID-19, and giving them a chance to donate their design skills for a good cause. So please check it out on my stories later on. Time Well Spent. You can find it on a website called Tackle COVID-19, and they really do great stuff for artists. And our today guest, Cormac from HonestBrew. So it's a really good friend of mine. I met him pretty much in some of the best bars in London, and we always chat about beer, what it could be the beer future. And I met him probably 5 years ago the first time in Halifax and Castle when I was working for the Italian job pub in Mercato Metropolitano. And since that day I was just like, this guy knows quite a lot. What's going on in here? So he got experience in BrewDog, and he for 5 years has been the buyer for HonestBrew. So basically he knows entire chunk of European beer markets, which is make him probably the best person to speak about what is happening in the beer world, despite the crisis that we're living right now, despite Brexit, despite European collisions, whatever you want to say. We are just to try and understand what's the future for our liquid. And if you just give me 1 second, I'm going to try to invite him over. We can chat. And I also need to do a couple of things. Perfect. And how are you? Please write me down below here if you feel all right, if you were drinking good beers, if you were doing great stuff in these days, wherever you want. And it's really great for me to anything. Oh, hello, mate.
How you doing?
Very good, very good.
Good to see an unfamiliar face.
I think I haven't seen you now for a while, but
yeah,
like I don't know, like since probably I saw you like yesterday, maybe, or 2 days ago. It feels like
I've barely seen anyone. We all have in like 6 or 7 weeks. So when you see someone new, it's so exciting these days. You know, when you accidentally see someone on the street outside your house and you go, it's like being at a house party basically.
have you been at home working like as normal? Like, do you doing like stuff?
Yeah. So I think we went to practice lockdown about 4 days before the official word came in. I think our office, we started on Thursday and lockdown came in on like the Monday or something. So we were already ready. We were already ready to go. We never went back after that. So we were all set up. My office is 500 meters from my house. So my life hasn't changed that much. I went down and got I went down and got my screen and my chair and pushed it down the road. Made an awful racket doing it, but basically moved my whole desk to my house. So yeah, so it's been fine. Yeah, it's been good.
The good thing I have, and I had the chance to to share with people is like that beer. It's around. There is enough beer for everyone in these days, which is great. And
Yeah.
I mostly speak with bottle shops, and I mostly speak with brewers, and I really wanted to hear a bit more from. Can we say then HonestBrew could work distribution as well, like a beer distributor, or how do you get?
Yeah, we've worked in it, and it can be quite a challenging space. So we have worked in it, and we work a little bit with Jolly Good Beer to help them with some stock. Yeah, it was challenging. It's changed a lot over the course of even the 7 weeks that we've been in lockdown, 6 or 7 weeks. Our supply. So it started with everyone going, we're going to have so much surplus beer. Then about 4 weeks later, it was like everyone was like, we have no beer. Everyone was saying that they've actually really underestimated the demand for beer. And then social distancing created some issues with breweries because they couldn't get as many staff into them. I'm sure you've heard that. So we've had to, even our European breweries, that has really helped us keep enough stock on the web shop, because sometimes some breweries are supplying us with 1 beer a week now instead of 2 or 3. So when you have 1 beer a week from a brewery, the shop can get pretty empty pretty fast, So, yeah.
Well, I haven't invited you to crack on with a beer if you.
Oh
Really,
yeah.
I don't know if you realize I'm having. Oh, look at that! Oh,
I found it the other day.
Would you like to say what you drink?
So I have bought a Russian Imperial Stout from Russia, no less. I think we can all, bizarrely, it's one of the weirdest things about craft beer is that the amount of times we've actually had a Russian Imperial Stout from Russia. I think this is the 2nd time I've had one, so it's weird. Like it's fantastic though. It's AF Brewing from St. Petersburg, so I think they're one of the big 3 breweries in Russia, and it's cocoa, vanilla imperial oatmeal stout, and it's so smooth and it's so delicious, and it's not really, I wouldn't say it's a pastry stout because it's got a little bit more, it's a bit more boozy, it hasn't been made with that, it hasn't been made to be like a sweet, but it is still like treacle. If you like dark rums, like those dark molasses rums, it's like reminds me of something like that, so it's hitting the spot, even though it's like 15 degrees and my living room's about 25. It's hitting the spot.
I was looking for a beer geek from Michela Twist for a while. Michela Thailand made one, so
I saw that. I still haven't tried it yet. It's the recipe, isn't it? It's the original Michela recipe with a Wylam twist. Yeah,
yep. And the
should be pretty epic.
Wylam twist is basically add of honey and coffee beans, which is going to have also like rise up the malt complexity of this beer. And
how much does it remind you of the original?
I honestly have to say that have this dense, concentrated feeling of a very well done, lovely filter coffee in the morning. It's really satisfying coffee, and the coffee is almost like power entire mouth, and then slowly now when the coffee is going, the bitterness it takes the sweetness from the honey takes place instead of the bitterness from the coffee, and the malt complexity. Understand what they're saying? It's firm, and it's the viscosity of the beer. Very, very, very much intense and big. But should try it, and I think I'm gonna try the one that you bring today as well.
It's an interesting little corner. I think we work with Estonian breweries, and they have a lot of interaction with Russia. So you go over there and like Imperial Stouts, we've seen it with Puyala as well. We work with Piaste. Yeah, where we have like New England dippers and everyone queues up for like the new big dippers. The brewers have told me that if you go to Moscow or St. Petersburg on one of those big release days of an Imperial Stout, you can get a queue around the block. People just queuing up like they do at other half, but they're queuing up for like an 11% dark beer, which is, different scenario,
100%, especially because we experience a very happy night, few dark beers along 7, 8 plus, and I remember it was very food intense, and
Yeah,
almost like you reach another level again and again and again and again. Hoppiness is different. Hoppiness works in your mouth slightly different way. It's to me it's more. It's 8%. Double IPA is anyway sessionable somehow, but the dark stuff is like, whoa, okay.
yeah.
Cormac, I wanted to ask you, how is going the craft beer industry, UK, and if you're happy to.
Where is it going?
Well,
I think. Well, the UK is just going from strength to strength. I don't think anyone can argue with that. I think this past 12 months, 18 months, I think we're in a period where you're seeing some really bigger names in the industry really just like consolidate their quality control, their equipment. The likes of Verdant, Northern Monk, Wylam are opening all their, new venues and stuff like that. There's a group of breweries who are all now moving on to that next size of kit, next size of canning machine, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's definitely happening. The rate of new breweries, it's slowed down a little bit, but I think it also means that new breweries are very considered about entering the market now. If you're going to come into the UK market, you need to be very confident that what you're doing is set up properly. You can't just throw some pots and pans together and start making pale ales. You've got to be on the ball. And I think I've seen that with some of the new breweries the past 2 years. They knew that they had to be pretty shit hot when they came into the market, double barreled, duration. Who else has come in? Salt, that equipment. All those breweries have installed some pretty spicy equipment, which it's tough because it means maybe we don't get the random little nuggets, the one man and a 5-barrel brew kit. But I think that's just progress. It's just inevitable with the way that brewing is going. So yeah.
Like an American influence, the fact that straight away brewery want to do well, or is a requirement for the market to stay alive and and be interested to the people? Like, is it or is a trend, or is just like the future we go in the right way?
No, I think definitely. I think we're definitely going the right way. I think we've improved quality as a market. I think branding's getting really intense all the time. We work with so many breweries abroad, and it was said to me the other day that sometimes this was by an Italian brewery who was saying that the marketing or the branding of the beer is seen as a necessity too often. It's not seen as it's seen as something you just have to do, so you get it out of the way, and then you move on to the brewing. Whereas the UK breweries, they're hiring graphic designers. Northern Monk. I always bring Northern Monk out and show people Northern Monk and say, look at the amount of effort that they put into designing their labels. And if and it's the same with all of them really. Cloudwater as well have their designers that they keep under a contract for. I don't know exactly how it works, but it's like a a 6-month contract. It used to be like that anyway. Whereas other brewers they'll still make the labels themselves or get a friend to do it. So yeah, it's exciting, and you need to, because there's also challenges from, breweries, bigger breweries who have these huge budgets that want to move in they just want to get as many taps as possible. They want to get as many accounts as possible, and you've got to look as good as them. And thankfully, it is possible because, if a shit hot graphic designer, you can look better than any £1 million redesign that some big brewery throws at the market.
100%.
Yeah. So,
and also, like, the role of taproom, it almost feels like that, breweries manage to have and to offer an entire, experience to drinkers. And it's not just the liquid; it's much more.
Yeah. So I was thinking, if you look at the future, I think that's probably one of the big future aspects will be the breweries will be taking over more pub leases. So I think we'll see the likes of Cloudwater and Northern Monk, who now have all their own venues, which are basically launching boards for their story, for their message, for their brand, for their beers. Cloudwater is probably one of the best examples of that. If you go to Cloudwater's tap rooms, you understand a lot about the brewery. You understand who they're friends with, what their ethos is. It's, I think every brewery really dreams of having such a custom designed place to put your beers out there. So you're not leaving it up to chance. You're not leaving it up to not random, but you've just got so much control over the message. So I think you'll see those pubs more and more. And I think London, I think we're meant to get a Northern Monk one at some stage soon. It was on the cards. I think it's been on the cards for ages, but yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of next year, you've got 7 or 8 tap rooms in London, even breweries from abroad, that could come in and open their own tap rooms here, because it's seen as a nice launching pad and a nice kind of conversation to be in if you have a tap room here, because you meet the other breweries and you can chat and do collabs and all that kind of stuff, So I wouldn't be surprised if an American brewery from, say, New York or California moves in and does a tap room. You've heard those rumors as well sometimes. Yeah.
The rumors about breweries, and will try to connect with different media, different businesses, different type of setup as well. There are someone talking about restaurants and taproom in the same time, or like almost like themed park closer to the beer tap way to see things. So definitely, something very.
Food is one thing that I think we've missed the ball a little bit on food. Everyone who comes back from America tells me, oh man, you can get these like amazing restaurant, / tap rooms. The menu is always incredible. And I feel like we always still do the pizza or burger route, which is great. And also I understand the overheads. It's expensive to run a restaurant, but we're working with Piazza in Estonia, and we call them the breakthrough brewery of the year, which for some people they were a little bit like, I don't understand. But then if you see what they did, they opened a restaurant, they opened a tap room. I think they're kind of aiming for, Michelin star and stuff like that. Michela has that Michelin star place. I know some people who went to visit that in Bangkok. I think we're a long way off getting a Michelin star tap room, but it's not impossible. You just need to find a really good young chef, find a place, a lease that's not going to bankrupt you, which in London, unfortunately, is probably not very likely.
I can see it in Leeds and Manchester, or even Bristol somehow. But
yeah, it's going to happen. Yeah, you're going to get some food people who. I was talking to a really foodie guy yesterday whose business is restaurants, but he owns a tap room, or he owns a bottle shop, and someone like that is going to do it. They're going to put their chef hat back on and make something amazing.
Just to everyone and just connect, Digital Beer Stream today is the industry stream. I'm here with Cormac from HonestBrew, and we are chatting about the future of craft beer in the most large way we can. So we were chatting about elements that can really create some new stuff in London especially. And we chat about possibility of restaurants and into the taproom or taproom restaurant kind of a hybrid. We were talking about the fact that breweries are getting better in the organization. And what do you think about people then working behind the bar? Do you see like a rise of level?
So for sure, I did like four-ish years in BrewDog. So I was going to work at the Camden bar, and then those guys were like, I missed the boat slightly, so I kind of hung around some other places, and I came back in for Shoreditch. So if you remember that time, that was really early days. Shoreditch was like one of the first craft beer places in East London to open, and they took over Mason and Co. So that was there before them. So it was early days, and the training was, they tried their best, but there still wasn't a huge awareness of how you could train beer people. But they brought in the Cicerone, which I always think it's a bit unfortunate that they really took on the Cicerone and it got associated with BrewDog because it was a great course and it is still around. But in the industry in the UK, it's almost associated with BrewDog, and not everybody has such a great feeling about BrewDog stuff. But yeah, that if that could be introduced a little bit more in the UK, people will say, oh, you can train your own staff. But the way they make you read up on technical texts, you have to disassemble an entire draft system, was one of the components of Cicerone, and actually figure out how gas pressures and everything work. The amount of people in the industry who haven't any real scientific knowledge background of how a draft system's actually working, it's gotten hugely better, and people are paying more as well, which helps. BrewDog, I think, led the way in paying that higher wage for, like, if you pass certain courses, you got more per hour. I think you could top it up to the point where a lot of just normal bartenders are on like £12 an hour, which 3 or 4 years ago, still big. Yeah, but it was big back then.
100%. And you mentioned about the Cicerone itself, like more and more people, it's somehow starting the experience in bars where the liquid is treated in such a better way compared to the average of pubs around the world. More skillful bartenders and people behind the bar you will have, which is great. And I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for being able to choose the right bar along all my journey. So I'm really thankful to everyone and teach me something, and it's great. And what do you think about the fact that right now we're not having bars and pubs, but we're still drinking and discussing about the liquid itself, and maybe somehow we will have different way to consume our favorite drink? Like, how do you see craft beer if pubs are not going to be around for 12 months more somehow?
I think, well, the obvious answer is we've seen a huge increase in business traffic. So people are drinking at home. Perhaps they're going to discover that they prefer having a selection of beers at home than being tied to a group of taps. That, I was talking to someone about the draft selection in London and about how predictable it can get sometimes. And when we were doing more distribution stuff, it was really to try and supplement this and try and add in some breweries from outside the obvious. But that experience of just being able to choose your beers and not have the same breweries pop up again and again every week, I think you'll miss the social element, but perhaps we'll become a little bit more like Americans. That we'll go to friends' houses. we'll do that like park sharing thing. You know, I think we've all been doing the park sharing thing this week anyway. You know, I think we'll probably reevaluate where pubs lie in our spending, and you know, the good ones will be fine, but the ones that were slightly, you know, suspect, or you know, maybe didn't always deliver the goods, will be under pressure now. So, and our attachment to the breweries is probably getting stronger. You know, so we're at home, we're looking at social media more. We're looking at live streams like this. You know, we've actually started to see the breweries, you know, faces, you know, the brewers and the owners and stuff. So it's all like, we feel like we've kind of gotten through, you know, this period surviving with, you know, the breweries themselves. We're tied together in a little bit. You know, they're helping us. They're giving us a little bit of luxury at home. You know, that box coming through the door is an exciting thing during the week. You know, food, you know, there's also deliveries, but I think that beer box was really that little buzz every week, or 2 or 3 times for some people, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so beer's coming out of this thing really, really well, and I think it will in future as well, because even if we're going, you know, for recession or whatever, it's been shown time and time again that craft beer does really well. You know, small luxuries. You're going to cut out the trip to a restaurant where you spend £60 on 3 courses, but you're going to keep the box of beer that costs you 25 quid and gives you like a little can every, you know, every night of the week.
Just different way to consume, just different way to approach the element itself. Okay, I get that. Yeah. As I said, in these days, I'm pretty sure most of the vans and the cars that are driving up and down London in these days, delivering some sort of booze to Londoners.
Yeah. Oh, I went up to Pressure Drop the other day. The queue at Pressure Drop, it was like a 20-minute wait to get the Experiment tap room. So yeah, it's, you know, people are going out of their way to get good beer. Yeah, it's
wow. So do you planning with HonestBrew to rely? I don't really want to, you know, discuss too much about your actual work, but are you going to have the same chances to keep exploring the European markets than you had so far, in your opinion? And if yes, is it something you keep want to do?
Yeah, so, you know, I think we work with the best. I would say we work with the best breweries in the UK. You know, there's obviously ones we miss, but for all, generally, we feel like we've got 20 or 30 breweries. We work with about 40 to 50 UK breweries, and I think, you know, if you were to ask someone to write down what's the top 40 breweries in the UK, I bet you we'd have, you know, 35 of them, you know. So we've kind of hit that level where we were like, okay, so we're in the top 35. We should have also the top 3 breweries from Spain, the top 3 breweries from France, you know, the top 3 breweries from Poland, you know, Italy, you know, because the level is so high there. And then even some people might be like, oh, you know, it's a mixed bag. If you really get down to it and you get the top 3 or 4 breweries from those countries, like Stu Mostov from Poland, we had a big delivery from them today.
Yep.
We got grape wild ales. We got 2 grape wild ales. We got some pastry stouts. We got some lager. We got some like guava sours, and we got New England IPAs. So it was such a broad range because they've got different experts and I think they've got 55 staff. So they've got like they've got a barrel aging expert, they've got a sour expert, they've got a lager, you know, German trained lager guy.
Wow.
That access to that kind of range is pretty hard to find, you know, outside the UK's top 20, you know.
100%, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what and it's great because it gives us that variety. You know, we get asked, you know, you don't have enough sours. That was a request a few weeks ago, and I was like, it's true. We were not getting sours from UK breweries. I don't know, time of year. I think it's because we were coming out of spring, so brewers were doing a lot of stout brewing, plus their New England brewing, and they were kind of not neglecting the sours perhaps a little bit. But we just went and we just contacted a few breweries that we know make sours all year long, and got a dozen sours from 3 breweries, you know, boom, you know. So yeah, keeping the range diversified, because you don't want to end up with a range that's, if you get beers from one region, you know, if
Yeah.
you want to call the UK a region,
Mm-hmm.
everyone has a general, they speak to each other, they all have they're all working within one market which has its own tastes.
Mm-hmm.
So if you diversify and you have other markets, you can tap into their tastes, which can be different. So some markets like, you know, Northeastern Europe, like that, Estonia, Lithuania, Baltic direction, lots of stouts. Even in summertime, we can
Always.
still contact like our breweries in Estonia and Lithuania and Norway, and they'll be like, yeah, we've got 4 imperial stouts this month, you know. I don't think there's a brewery in London that makes an imperial stout in the summertime.
No.
But we have customers who complain, you know, rightly so. They're like, I want to sit down on Sunday night with an imperial stout. And in previous years, we struggled to find that, you know,
Yeah.
in August, which, you know, it's probably also a sign of just the size of breweries. You know, if you're still a medium-sized brewery, you probably haven't got the spare capacity to be putting some imperial stouts in a barrel for release in August. You know, you've got to use the bottling line to put them away. You've got to get 2 staff to do the bottling line to bottle an imperial stout that is going to feel a little surplus of requirements in August. You might sell some, but you're not going to sell loads to a market that's still going to be like, I want pale ale, I want table beer. You know.
Yeah, for sure. And Cormac, like, given all of your, again, experience of different markets in Europe, and I'm sure even abroad, than even further than Europe, did you find something that really blow your mind in terms of, wow, I couldn't expect this was a thing. I couldn't expect this was happening. This is gonna grow hard. I know you shouldn't.
I could tell you something that's not going to grow hard. Well, even now when I say it. So if you want to talk about something that blew my mind that I didn't know existed, we went to a festival last year in Poland called Beer Geek Madness. You might have seen it. You know, it's quite popular now. And the theme was UK breweries, UK and Irish breweries. So all the Polish brewers were asked to brew a beer for the festival inspired by British brewing. And there was like some mad ideas. It was like Rausch New England IPA aged in barrels, you know, because where did they get that idea from? I can't remember where. But one of them was a cock ale. Have you ever heard of cock ale?
No, unfortunately.
So there was this in the corner of this festival, which is in an old warehouse district. So it's like, imagine one of those like Hackney, you know, Brave warehouses. And in the corner, there's this huge steaming kind of 50-liter pot. And you go up and you ask for the beer and you have your little sample glass. And he gets a ladle and he ladles this steaming, chunky beer into your glass. And basically what it is, it's an old British medieval recipe where you put a chicken into the beer and you boil the beer with the chicken in it. And it picks up some herbs and some spices and some chicken. And then you serve it hot. And it's called a cock ale. And it is a like 16th century British beer. And it is never going to take off.
And that's the pure origin of gravy sauce. Okay, now I understand.
And that is so that's something that blew my mind that's never going to be a thing. But something that will be a thing that blew my mind.
Could be even a region in the world, or could be like a sub-style or an approach. Anything.
I think the region thing is interesting because people are still adapting to where they fit in the beer world. I think Spain probably is the strongest region in Europe for beer outside of the UK. I think just because they have access to grapes, they have access to barrels, they have some really like cool cities, you know, Madrid, Valencia, San Sebastian, Barcelona, and they have hops as well. So when they tie it in together with hops, so Spain produces more hops than New Zealand per year, kilos. It's all bittering hops. It's all Chinook and stuff. So when they tie that all together, that's grapes, barrels, hops. That's a pretty strong package. Um, but yeah, I think that's probably it. Doesn't It's still formative, so it doesn't blow me away yet. But I've had some hops from a German. I had a German IPA with German hops the other day. It wasn't brewed in Germany, but it was German hops, and I was like, it tasted like Gamma Ray. So they had it was like 6%, which is kind of similar to Gamma Ray, and it was so juicy and it was so fruity, but it was entirely German hops. Huell Melon, Mandarin of Bavaria, all those hops that you hear that people use sometimes, but you never get the juiciness. They had done that; they had achieved it. So if you can pull that off, if you can make a juicy IPA with European hops, that's they're on the way. How many of you had, out of curiosity, where you've had German hopped IPA and said, "Oh, I can't really tell the difference between." Probably like West Coast style. I don't think New England it works, but West Coast. Still haven't had one.
No, definitely no,
No.
for sure, 100%. Well, like it's fun that you mentioned these sub style or anything something that is growing on the side. Where I found this very hilarious article about, one more time I had to speak Italy, but not for the fact that I'm Italian, but because it's blown my mind, the rise of Italian pilsners or Italian style pilsners in the US. That was just like,
Oh, it's crazy.
what?
We went to when I say we, I think I was by myself. But there was one of the guys, there was Verdant were there. So I went to Crack's festival
Yep.
up in the north of Italy. And we were trying we went there. We kind of said to ourselves it's going to be nice to be at a festival where Pilsner has like a bit of hype, because it was last year, so Italian Pilsners were beginning to be like, people were talking about them. And sure enough, there was like 20 breweries, and I think there was like 14 Pilsners being poured. And all the American guys, there was like Other Half, there was Civil Society, there was, was it Equilibrium? There were all these like big American breweries, and they had brought their Italian Pilsners to show them off. And then Birrificio Italiano were there with their Italian Pilsner, Tipo. And there was this massive, like, comparing the Pilsner geek fest going on. And I was like, I have not, it'll be hard to tell people that. But Americans, if you go to America now, apparently it's like the Pilsner off. Every brewery is trying to out Pilsner each other.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm trying to charge my phone with a crappy charger.
Yes, I did the same a minute ago, and Cormac, like, I'm gonna tell you 3 or 4 categories into beer, on the side of beer, and I'm just want to see a reaction from you. You decide what reaction. Hard seltzer.
Would like to see it made with real fruit.
Cool. I like that. But
I know some people making them with real fruit, and I'm hoping they're going to be an interesting drink.
Okay. Interesting. All right. I get that. And juicy IPA, New England IPA.
Here to stay. Never going away. Maybe we'll get to a point where it's 50-50, West Coast, East Coast. But then, as a brewer said to me the other day, a lot of what we have as West Coast here, if you brought a brewer from California, he wouldn't agree. There's a whole process to making West Coast IPAs. It's not just, this beer isn't hazy, it's a West Coast. They're going to probably, some brewers are probably going to try and reclaim West Coast and be like, actually, this is how you do West Coast. This type of malt, this type of yeast, that kind of, like
not a beer style, but a format. Tall cans.
We've actively encouraged some breweries to say, 330 mils. Lots of customers want to drink 330 mils. the tall boys became like omnipresent probably a bit too quickly, and some big breweries decided that actually their customers weren't that interested in them. Um, there's middle ground, like there's 330 ml tall boys. If you that contradiction, but you can get tall like Red Bull cans that are 330 ml. You can get 400 mls like the Italian breweries use, which are becoming more common. There's new breweries in Italy who are using the 400 ml as well. And, you know, it doesn't sound like much, but over the course of the year, it's 10% of your volume is set. Like, if you want to make a beer smaller, like that 40 mils represents 10% of the can size. So you can charge that a little bit less, and the customer, you know, with dippers, you know, we all know that Imperial Stouts and 9% IPAs on a Wednesday are a struggle in a 440 ml can. You know, we all wish that some of those really exciting dippers came in a 330. So a mix of them in the future, I think.
Interesting. And probably question about sours, like summer is coming, so you know.
Sour. If you mean like kettle sours or like mixed fermy type things, or
How do you see both? One instead of another?
I think we're going to go down. I think we're going to go down the similar route to America. I think people are too quick sometimes to say that America is us, because we share the same language. I think we just share the same language, but a lot of cultural differences. So I don't think we always do the same stuff that America does. So you see, like all the mixed firm stuff in America, people will be like, "Oh, everybody in the UK is going to have a mixed firm project in 5 years." I don't think that's going to be the case, but I do think that a lot of beer geeks will start moving on to having local mixed firm, and they'll realize that, you know, what I can get from Cantillon, I can actually get locally. That sounds like blasphemy, but I had that chat with someone the other night. He was like, you know, he's had the same experience. You try something from Jester King or one of these guys, the Guard, and for them, he was like, I would prefer it to, you know, some very hypey Belgian stuff, you know. So yeah, that's going to be, you know, that's going to be our brewing part of our brewing future. Maybe not as big as America, where it was everyone, but 6 or 7 really big sour breweries here, mixed firm breweries. And kettle sours, I don't know. They are popular, but I think they're still only like 15% of the market, you know. Yeah. And I mean the beery market, you know. Still, pubs don't put sours on, you know. I don't know if casual English pubs are ever going to put on, you know, kettle sours on draft. Yeah.
And last question, are we going to buy more our beers in supermarkets, or people like HonestBrew and all the players will make sure we don't need to do that too much?
Yeah. I think what the supermarkets are doing is honestly, it's an imitation of what everyone else did for years. And some of them have got some very talented people doing their supermarket ranges. But I still think that the variety, the freshness, the understanding that you get from independent retailers will win out for a lot of customers. I think you won't. You can get a certain type of customer will get quite bored of a supermarket range after a few weeks. You have it all, you know, 1 month in, you're like, I've had this beer now 4 times, you know. It was okay, but it's also not fresh anymore. The same beer I had at the beginning of the month is still sitting there, same batch at the end of the month. So that going back for more, you know, I don't think the supermarkets really supply that, you know. They're good emergency beers. Yeah. Well, they're good emergency beers. Yeah.
Most of the friends that I got started not beery friends, started to drink proper beer because supermarkets, and then they realize all the stuff that you just mentioned. So again, I think we can do what we need to do, and don't be too scared about them. And
no, I think the beer market needs to open up a lot more to more customers, and the supermarkets are doing it. You know, in HonestBrew, we've always felt like that. You know, we're not too worried about the supermarkets because what they're doing is just introducing more people to craft beer. And like breweries like Northern Monk and you know, they're introducing some of their core range, keeping the specials back for independents. And as long as breweries kind of do that kind of style of brewing, I think there's no harm in it, you know. As long as their prices that they sell to independents are not as, you know, the independents can compete with the supermarkets. You know, because we've all heard the stories of the breweries who like sell to supermarkets and then they're like, you know, shops are like, I could buy that beer from a supermarket less than I buy it on your wholesale list. So, you know.
Yep, I know what you mean.
You know
I
that,
think,
yeah.
I think I squeezed you and I squeezed your knowledge as much as I could in our time available in here, and I realized after 50 minutes of live Instagram start to be an horrible dictator saying you can't do this with your content, you can't do that. So I feel like we had a beautiful chat about potential future scenarios in front of us. And to remind to everyone, you can watch this video fully in the EGTV section. So if you miss some part of it, please do that. And Cormac, I hope you're gonna be enough busy to don't get bored.
Yeah.
And
And we can share a beer, hopefully in the not too distant future.
can't wait to give you a big hug, discuss about our favorite element, and sit probably somewhere nice and very, you know, familiar. Anywhere,
Absolutely.
just I'll be there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And thank you very much again. All the best,
No, it's been a
guys.
pleasure. Thank you very much. I appreciate being invited on. I really enjoyed them. I think it's nice to give people a window on beer as well. And as I said, you know, people are learning a lot more about the breweries they work with and people who send them beer and stuff during this lockdown. So it's been great.
Very good. And also, guys, check it out. HonestBrew website. I think most of the beers then Cormac is buying, you can't find anywhere else. It will be here. So it's always good stuff. Thanks, mate. Really,
Cheers.
really thanks.
Cheers, Gab.
Have a good one. Ciao.
Thank you.